Hey guys, welcome back to your final top 4 match. Regina Ingley here with Brendan Lewis. I might accidentally call you Brandon again, and I apologize profusely.
You'll never hear the end of it. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I just can't tolerate that.
That's fine. We'll do that on top of the puns that I make that you hate, apparently.
Okay, good. We can just add that to the list. Let's keep going.
But in case you guys have forgotten, our final top 4 matches, Nick Navarre, also known as Nails, versus Traylor. We love him back here. He's so sweet. He wrote us a note on his accomplishments page that was like, love you guys. It was just like, oh, what a nice thing to wake up to and see.
Yes, he is a kind and gentle soul. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that doesn't like him. But yes, he is a particular big fan of the commentary team back here, and it's always a pleasure to have him on. And of course, Nails himself is a very fine person who, we have him back here for interviews all the time. And I'll use that as a segue into talking about how both of these players are just like constant, like deep regional, like a team away from a deep regional run, or a sleep powder hit away from a deep regional run in Nick's case. These are two very accomplished players. Of course, we've talked about their accomplishments over the course of their times on stream. I think this is at least the 3rd time that both of them have been on so far this weekend, if not more. But Aaron, of course, was the national runner-up in 2016 and did Top Cut Worlds in that same year, in addition to a regional victory in 2015. And Nick was a regional champion, I believe, in 2017. I think that was actually the first regional I cast, so that's like...
Oh, so very nice,
and of course has cut other regionals, is pretty consistently very very high up in the CP standings as well. And both these players, with their run here today, are gunning for travel invites and are presumably close, if not already at their Worlds invite as a result. And Aaron is a talented artist, as we can see.
That's a coloring page from like one of the side activities.
A talented colorer.
That's very fair. I will say I do like how both of them, their plushies are from Gen 4, but I know that the two of us here are Gen 3 fans.
I am a big Gen 3 fan.
So, but we've got 2 Gen 4 fans up there too.
I don't hate either of those Pokemon. I think they're acceptable Pokemon. I mean, it's no Surskit.
That Jigglypuff is terrifying. Fun. I don't know if you saw it. It's got red eyes.
Yeah, it looks like he's still coloring there.
I wonder if he knows. I don't think he's aware that we can see him right now. Oh, no, he definitely knows.
Okay, well, Aaron clearly is feeling very loose for his match right now.
Well, I mean, when you're playing against people who are very good at this, it's kind of nice, like, to be able to relax at least. I mean, there's so much stress and there's so much pressure from playing this game sometimes. So having a little fun is always good.
Yeah, and he clearly is. So, like we talked about, we've seen both of these players and their teams on stream. Most recently, we did see Nick here on stream, who had quite a set against Ken that was going back and forth with those sleep powder hits, the moody boost, the lovely kiss hits. So that was just like pure chaos, and Nick was able to come out of that on top. And most recently, we saw Aaron in his top 8 match against Ashton Cox, where he really put the pedal to the metal and was very dominant in what looked like a mirror match. And one of the things that I think on Swiss yesterday is we did kind of feature Nick's Gengar a little bit. We talked a little bit about it, and although it didn't do a whole lot in stream, this is the kind of matchup that Nick does have that Gengar for. So while on stream yesterday, I believe he was playing Brandon, and we saw it get sky dropped and then Psyshocked before it was actually able to
do anything.
But this is the situation that you try and bring Gengar to, where it does have a lot of options. I don't think we've seen it do anything, but it could do things like use a Never-Ending Nightmare, use a Z Destiny Bond, use Taunt. It can
hope for those Cursed Bodies to happen.
Yeah, Cursed Body, now that doesn't have Levitate anymore. So there's a lot that Gengar can do in this matchup, but the kind of like antithesis to that is that Smeargle with its Follow Me can definitely deal a lot with that ghost type damage.
Yeah, and it's kind of just interesting to me too, because you've got that Venusaur and the Smeargle, and like we had seen in Nails' top match, that all those lovely kisses and sleep powders. I was actually sitting outside, and I was playing like Smash, and I could hear people cheering and like booing and like crying about stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, somebody got an evasive boost, somebody missed a sleep powder, and I can tell just from the cheers. And I think it's always as frustrating as it is sometimes with sleep powder misses or lovely kiss misses and all that fun RNG stuff. It's always really entertaining to watch.
Oh, it's always entertaining, yeah. I think as much as people... Smeargle's one of those Pokemon that you love to hate, right? And, you don't necessarily like to play against it, and sometimes it doesn't even feel that good to use, but it's always entertaining when it gets up there and you get to roll some dice and see exactly how this game is going to play out. And when you combo that with Sleep Powder, which is, a little maddening in its own right, it's definitely a recipe for some entertainment. And Nails has kind of like linked himself to Nick has linked himself to Venusaur in this format, has been using it kind of since the very beginning. And when you are kind of attached to a move like that, especially in conjunction with Groudon with the Precipice Blades, you kind of are you know you have a chance that if you hit all your sleep powders, maybe you get some nice sleep turns.
Right.
You're using mechanics that are very much in your advantage towards a deep run if you're successful with hitting those moves, and then maybe not so much on the flip side. And it seems like for the most part he's been very successful. Having gone X1 yesterday, or oh no, he was X2 with the resistance, but had a very strong run, and then obviously did very well with those moves against Ken in Game 3 there up there last set.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting to really tie yourself to a 75% move. And we've seen it successful in the past where back in 2016, Arash Ahmadi made a very successful run with Jump Pluff where he was kind of just like nailing all those sleep powders on stream. So Nails throwing back again to 2016 with that Venusaur, and we'll see just exactly how it fares here in our final top 4 match to decide the next member of finals. Regina, what are their teams?
So Nails has that Gengar, Groudon, Venusaur, Xerneas, Serena, and Incineroar. And obviously on the right side here, Aaron with that Xerneas, Lunala, Toxicroak, Smeargle, Incineroar, and Landorus there in form. So I think it's really cool too, like having that Gengar, Serena on Nails' side. Like I really enjoy seeing those two Pokemon together. Yeah,
they're definitely interesting Pokemon. Both Pokemon that are kind of unique in, what they bring to the table, with Serena having her Queenly Majesty, as well as access to moves like Helping Hand, Feint, all sorts of different stuff that it can do to kind of support the other powerhouses on the team, which in this case are Groudon and Xerneas. And then on the flip side, Aaron also has some interesting Pokemon, and we talked a little bit about his Landorus yesterday, but hadn't gotten to see it on stream. And you do wonder if this is one of those scenarios that he might try to bring it in, with the ability to kind of like combo Intimidates onto Groudon using Incineroar and Landorus. He can get Intimidates down also onto
that means Serena is going to be really important for that.
Incineroar, and then if he is carrying something like Earthquake or Earth Power, it's a good way to deal big damage onto Incineroar as well. So I'm kind of hoping we get to see it here because I think it's a really cool wrinkle. I don't think I would ever say I hope we see Landorus in this round, but I think it would be really interesting for him to feature it.
Yeah, I mean, because Landorus took, that seat back in Sun series. We got that Rise of Tornadus instead. So it'll be very interesting. We do have that Gengar and that Groudon lead here from Nails, and we've got that Xerneas and Smeargle combo from, sorry, my bad. Lunala and Smeargle combo from Aaron here.
Right, and Nick actually does opt to go right into his Gengar game plan here, which I kind of figured he might at least think about doing with that Lunala being an option. But of course, Aaron, he did talk about this briefly in his top 8 post-game interview, where you can have all the Ghost-type power in the world, but if Smeargle is sitting on the field, it can just use Follow Me to draw all of it away forever and ever. So it's going to be kind of more of an, there's a little bit of mind games. Is he going to click the Follow Me? Is Nails going to use that substitute coming out from his Groudon? Is he just going to go for a Precipice Blades? And then finally, where is that Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom going? Because we saw Aaron be so effective with it in his top 8 match, and it does so much damage.
I mean, you said that perfectly, and I'm actually super impressed by that. But
Menacing
you're right.
Moonraze Maelstrom.
Oh my gosh. Now you're just showing off. But what's really great too is, like you said, that Smeargle just creates a lot more pressure than it usually does. I mean, obviously, you've got like the Lovely Kiss, but now we've got that Lunala going back, so no Z move from this turn. And now we've got that Incineroar coming on the field. That Intimidate is going to be really nice against that Groudon. You've got that Fake Out pressure for next turn as well. And I mean, this Smeargle, sitting nicely there with that normal typing, but that Protect from Gengar is going to make sure that it just doesn't take any damage here. And Groudon's going to be free to attack, but actually goes for a double Protect, so hoping for no Lovely Kisses at least here.
Right, no Lovely Kisses and no Fake Out, I think, was probably what he was aiming at. When you double protect just to break those Fake Outs, and he does get an accuracy raise on turn 1 here with a defense drop, which will make Lovely Kiss, I believe, with perfect accuracy with those +2 stages of accuracy. But when you do double protect, it tends to be a pretty safe play, right? You prevent a lot of guessing games. That you can kind of just like reset the position here on turn 2. But instead, Aaron takes that opportunity to switch in another Fake Out so that he can now prevent Groudon from moving this turn with that Incineroar if he so chooses. And then he's got a little bit more freedom to operate with that Smeargle that now has access to perfect accuracy, Lovely Kisses. So a really good play on turn 1 by Aaron, I think, kind of punishing Nick tending towards passivity there.
Yeah, and that's going to be really tough because, like you said, that Moody Boost is so helpful now for Aaron, and now you're even more terrified of having that other Fake Out user now on the field as well. So this Groudon's really not going to be able to do much. It's going to be actually terrified here as that Fake Out does go into that Groudon. It's going to stop it from moving on this turn. And Sludge Bomb, though, actually from that Gengar is going to go into that Smeargle, is going to break that Sash. Doesn't quite get the, doesn't even get the poison there, but that Lovely Kiss with 100% accuracy is going into that Gengar. Going to put it to sleep and going to make sure that it can't get another Sludge Bomb off. It can't use its Z move as well either. And so we've got another Moody boost here, and special attack is, you know, like, that's nice if it wasn't necessary, but the accuracy fall here, but it already put that Gengar to sleep.
Right, so it looks like Nick there just kind of taking the opportunity to bust Smeargle a Sash, and if he was able to get the poison from that Sludge Bomb, that would have been huge for him, as he could have just knocked out Smeargle here on this turn. But instead, it will be sticking around for another turn, and Gengar moving before Smeargle takes that Lovely Kiss and does have a turn to sleep. But now Groudon, you know, we don't know for sure, depending on how these two Pokemon are trained, but if it is faster than Smeargle, it could potentially be threatening big damage onto both slots on Aaron's team right now. So Nick definitely has to find a way to make sure that he's continuing to press this advantage that he's got with Groudon right now. You know, it's not really being threatened with anything other than a Lovely Kiss, and Aaron has to find a way to really respond to that Precipice Blade's pressure.
All right, and there's that turn of sleep from that Gengar, as we got that substitute now from that
so
Groudon.
It is faster than Smeargle.
And going to make sure that it doesn't get put to sleep here, as well as that Lovely Kiss isn't going to work on that substitute. The U-turn, though, from that Incineroar is going to take some damage more onto that Gengar. Going to try to, you know, do a little bit of chip as it's staying asleep here, and it's going to allow Aaron to kind of bring in something else now to be able to either deal with that substitute from that Groudon, or at least just take out that Gengar before it can wake up and do a Z move.
Right, and presumably this is going to be... Oh, he's going to go into Xerneas here. I was thinking it might be Lunala, but maybe he's past the window where he's comfortable of bringing another Ghost type onto the field. Now the Gengar has taken its turn of sleep. But it's going to be tricky to try and navigate this Groudon that's now, you know, there's not really a way to stop it from clicking Precipice Blades this turn if it wants to, because we have seen all of the moves on Aaron Smeargle at this point over the course of the entire tournament, as he does have that Lovely Kiss. Follow me. He did use Crafty Shield, I believe, on one occasion in one of his matches, and then, of course, he does have Fake Out. So there's no wide guard option, which Smeargles do tend to run, or can run, to try and block Precipice Blades and Water Spout.
Yeah, and I think the hard part too, like you said, I mean, you could always just switch in for that Incineroar again and try to, like, you know, stop that Groudon from getting any good damage of it, because you could hide behind that substitute, but if you can't hit moves well, then you're not going to be able to really do anything, and your Groudon is just going to sit there and wait to be taken out. And so, you know, we did see, like, that timer run out on Nails' side, so all of them just take as much time as they can for the moves that follow me from that Smeargle. So if this Groudon did click that Precipice Blades, that follow me won't matter much, but you're trying to protect that Xerneas here, that just to be safe in case that, that Gengar does wake up, allowing the Xerneas now to go for that Geomancy, get this boost up. So, you know, I think just a really good spot for Aaron to do that, and like a really safe play to go for that follow me. Right,
and it looks like he's going to allow a Precipice Blades here. It seems like he's going to allow the Precipice Blades here. And that will, if it hits both, will knock out Smeargle and do, it's at -1 Groudon is, I believe. So, you know, a little bit of damage to Xerneas probably. Oh, it's a critical hit.
Oh, no, that is rough. Yeah, that was definitely a critical hit. Yeah, you guys, I don't know, you guys can't hear the crowd back here, but that was insane, because like that was such a good turn for Aaron. He covered his bases.
Was a really good turn
he got the Geomancy. I mean, even with like that life over there, you know, it's not gonna. Yeah, that critical hit is just, it's so rough, and like this is one of those moments where if you're Aaron, you have to think to yourself, that's so unfortunate, but I can still do this. I still have an option to do this. Now you've got, you know, I mean, obviously Fake Out isn't going to stop that substitute, but you have to focus now on that Gengar as well. And the hard part here is Nick hasn't shown any of his other Pokemon.
Right, yeah, he's just been sitting here with Gengar and Groudon. That's just a really unfortunate critical hit from Aaron's side, because he went from a position where he was going to take, you know, probably around 40 damage, 40-50% on that Xerneas in exchange for a Geomancy, and then Smeargle would have gotten knocked out to allow for a free switch into either Incineroar or Lunala, which could have afforded Aaron potentially the opportunity to go for something like a Dazzling Gleam followed by a Z move. Or a Psych Up from Lunala, but instead that's all out the window, and Aaron's going to have to go with Plan B here, as he's first going to just knock out Gengar.
Yeah, I mean that Gengar, oh, the Curse Body kicking into as well for that Moongeist Beam. It's going to be a little bit tough for later on, but you know, now you're just going to try to get rid of that substitute. The Precipice Blades is going to be going down into both of these Pokemon. Connects as well. It is still at -1 because that Intimidate doesn't go through that substitute. That Incineroar is able to hold on and be able to, I think, like eat that berry, get some of that health back. But now you're just going to try to put as much pressure as you can on that Groudon, and you're still at the spot where, you know, you're able to get in another substitute. That Flare Blitz is going to go into that with the Sun Boost as well. It should be able to knock out that substitute now. But I mean, Nick is still in such a good spot here, you know, is like able to really capitalize on the fact that that critical hit knocked out that Xerneas.
Yeah, and going forward here, there's definitely a lot that Nick can do. Of course, it depends on what he did opt to bring in the back, but any number of Venusaur, Xerneas, he could have anything really and continue to put himself in a very good position. Depending on how his Xerneas is trained, if it is a timid Xerneas, it will be able to get that Geomancy up before it would have to take the Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom from Lunala. But this Groudon is definitely being threatened in that regard. It's just I don't know that Aaron necessarily has the resources left on his side to deal with that Lunala once it gets its Geomancy up.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Xerneas. Yeah, and it's tough because, like, you know, even if that Groudon, if it misses both Precipice Blades or something like that, right, it's still in a spot where, like, you have to focus on that Xerneas and make sure it stops getting the Geomancy up. You still don't know the last Pokemon on, you know, Nick's side of the team, and so now we've got that Moonblast. Actually, no Geomancy at all. Just gonna go straight for that damage. Goes into that Incineroar. It has already eaten its berries. Manages to hold on. Gets a special attack drop, but it doesn't matter as much for this Incineroar. We are gonna get that Z move now from that Lunala, and you know, no Protect. So it can do full damage to that Xerneas, or it can try to knock out that Groudon.
Yeah, and I think, you know, regardless of what the target is, it's still going to be kind of difficult for Aaron because even after he does launch this Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom, he's still disabled from that Cursed Body, so he's not going to be able to threaten the maximum amount of damage without being able to use his Moongeist Beam. But he's going to go into this Xerneas here, and you can see by the HP number that Nick has on his Xerneas. This is kind of like, you know, next level commentary here. We're looking at HP numbers, is that you can see it is trained a little bit bulkier than Ashton's was, if I recall. You know, maybe a little bit less of a chance that it's going to be knocked out like Ashton's, but it is going to hang on with 17 HP. So Aaron not getting that roll again this game, and that Precipice Blades double hit will knock out Incineroar and do enough damage to Lunala that just an attack from Xerneas next turn will effectively end the game. So really tough that it did kind of swing down to a critical hit there from that Precipice Blades, but Nick, like we talked about, does kind of have a move that encourages die rolls. So, you know, maybe a critical hit really factors into that kind of game plan.
Yeah, and, you know, like maybe you're hoping for some misses later, but that Moonblast from that Xerneas is going to be able to pick up the knockout on that Lunala, giving game one to Nick. And I think, Aaron, the hard part about this is your mindset is there's not much you can really change because the reason you lost was because of that critical hit, right? Like, you had played the game, like, to your proper turns, and losing that, it's something hard to recover from, especially like when your entire game plan is sort of hinging on that Xerneas boost, right?
Right. I think that's definitely one way to look at it. But also, I think that Nick still played that early game pretty well. Yeah. That definitely could have been, you know, really Nick's game to just take from very early on if he had gotten less sleep turns on Gengar. It did sleep for the full time. That did eventually allow for that Moongeist Beam to knock it out, but really it felt like with that Gengar Groudon lead that Nick had a commanding position throughout most of the game, and that that critical hit really just kind of stopped any potential for a comeback. So I think if you're Aaron, you definitely still want to adjust a little bit how you play that early game, and you know, the critical hit ended any chance of having
that sort of comeback turn.
Right, right. It kind of removed any feasible comeback potential, but there are still things to adjust, and I think you have to know that if you're Aaron.
And I think you're right, though. Like, that lead with the Gengar Groudon was nice, even despite that Smeargle having that follow me, having the normal typing. I still, you know, that pressure that the substitute Groudon creates, the Sludge Bomb from the Gengar, because you don't have to go for the Z-Dust, you don't have to go for any sort of, like, Ghost type moves or, like, you know, that Ghost DMZ, but you can at least, you know, threaten poison damage, you can threaten the chance for poison on Pokemon, and with the Groudon next to it, and like you said, you know, no reveal of the Wide Guard at all from the Smeargle, it has that potential to just, you can get damage out there as much as possible. If you get rid of the Smeargle, then you're in an even better position to just sort of be like, hey, Gengar can draw attention away from this Groudon. Yeah,
I think Gengar, you know, definitely has its application, and this is kind of the matchup, like we talked about briefly before the game, that you bring it to. This is what it's for. You know, you threaten knockouts onto many different Pokemon with the Never-Ending Nightmare option. If you do have a Focus Sash or something like Taunt, you have a lot of potential for, you know, disrupting things like Smeargle and game plans of that ilk. And then, of course, Sludge Bomb, always a nice way to hit Xerneas, and you can never really underestimate Poison or Steel-type damage in a format where Xerneas is around. Now, Regina, one more thing I am kind of interested to see here in Game 2 is if Aaron opts to go for that kind of Landorus game plan, because he was kind of undone by Precipice Blades and Groudon, and bringing a levitating Intimidate user, or flying type Intimidate user would definitely be kind of a good way to respond to that.
We've got the Venusaur Xerneas lead from Nick here, as we have a Xerneas and Smeargle once, actually this time from Aaron.
Roll some dice.
Let's go for those sleep powders, those lovely kisses, those fake outs, and those geomancies.
Right.
It's going to be a fun board.
It's going to be fun, and there's definitely a lot that could happen here. Lovely Kiss can miss, Sleep Powder can miss, Moody can do any number of things, and it's going to be on these players to try and either turn those tables in their own kind of favorable direction, or to just kind of like pivot away from opting into these chaotic game plans and hope that you can maybe do something a little bit more consistent. But, you know, given how effectively both of these players have been able to move forward in this tournament using some of these unpredictable strategies, I think we'll probably just see them both try to play it out here.
Yeah, because I mean, what, you've got the fake out potential, but then Venusaur can get that free Sledge Bomb, so you either get it into the Smeargle or you get it into Xerneas. Do you go for that like Sleep Powder now? And then I feel like Aaron's not extremely safe to go for that Geomancy, but we do get the fake out now from that. So we're going to go stop that Venusaur, and now we've got Nick's Xerneas going for that Geomancy, and I'm guessing we're going to see a Geomancy as well from Aaron's side of the field.
We're almost definitely going to see a matching Geomancy, and now is the time when we start to pay attention to when Xerneas is moving first. And so far, I didn't catch whether or not the Fairy Aura is activated and in what order, but we did see Nick's Geomancy go first here, and then Aaron is going to respond. And this is definitely a situation where your two full health Geomancy Xerneas are staring each other down that could come down to speed ties and who's able to get those Moon Blasts off first. And especially when it's a Xerneas mirror like this, when you're Moon Blasting other Xerneas,
the special attack
drops really matter and can definitely factor into how games play out.
But now we also got the Moody boost, so we'll see exactly what's going to happen here with that Smeargle. So defense rises is okay here, but the evasiveness is a little bit of a tough one. It's clearly not the way that most Smeargle players want to see that happen. But yeah, like you said, but now that Smeargle also, with the Sash still intact, has that option to go for the follow me and, like, you know, kind of redirect attention from there. I don't know if Nick ever showed if he has Dazzling Gleam or not, as opposed to Moon Blast, or if he has both. And so it's also kind of that mindset of if you know that Nick has Dazzling Gleam, do you go for the follow me?
Yeah, and I believe he does have Dazzling Gleam, if I'm remembering correctly. And I think the one thing, I think maybe the evasion drop can't necessarily even be understated here, because it will allow Nick a much higher chance to hit Sleep Powder onto Smeargle, which would definitely be a good way to kind of handle most of the follow me game plans that Aaron could go for here. And he is going to go for follow me, so he's going to be subject to 2 attacks here. And let's watch which Xerneas moves first.
Oh, so it is going to be Nails and Xerneas that goes first on this turn. It does go for the Dazzling Gleam, breaks the Sash on that Smeargle, and just activates it here. So now it's up to Aaron's own. Actually, also goes for Dazzling Gleam here. Is going to hit both Pokemon as well. Doesn't do quite as much damage on either of these Pokemon. The Sleep Powder, no, that is going to hit that Smeargle. So like you said, that evasive drop, really making sure that Aaron is going to be put to sleep here. And it's going to be tough now for that Smeargle to actually really do anything, as that special defense does rise, but it is at 1 HP thanks to that Focus Sash. So I think that's like a little bit too late on that one.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really smart play from Nick to just go for the Sleep Powder into Smeargle instead of knocking it out. Because if he had knocked that Smeargle out there, it would have given Aaron a free switch into what is presumably either Incineroar or Lunala. And if it was Lunala, Aaron would have had a very easy Moonblast into that Venusaur and go for a Psych Up, which could have been really, really scary if Nick had allowed that. But by leaving Smeargle there, it's asleep. It can't do anything for right now. It's got just 1 HP. It definitely opens up some of the plays available to him and gives him the opportunity to get more damage onto Aaron Xerneas before he has to contend with the second restricted Pokemon.
Yeah, but and on that note too, like, you can also psych up, you know, Nick's own Xerneas if you do lose that. And I think you're right, like, it's really smart to sometimes keep those Pokemon in and, like, make sure that your opponent doesn't get that chance to just switch in Pokemon and force them to manually switch. But Nails is going to be the one who decides to go for that and brings in his Serena now, and in place of that Vita. The Serena at full health here is going to be a high attacker. Does have the Queenly Majesty for any potential fake outers in the back. We do get the Dazzling Gleam once more
Aaron's
now
goes
from
first there, so
yeah. So yeah, you're right. So Aaron's goes first, and now we've got the Moonblast though. That just that single target on here. He's going to go into that. Is going to be able to do a lot of damage. Manages to hold on. Does get the special attack drop though. So it is going to not be able to do as much damage on the turn. And now we attack rise for that Smeargle and a special defense drop, but that Smeargle has taken 1 turn at least of sleep. So, you know, if the dice rolls for for that Smeargle.
And that's actually a really important special attack drop there, because with the full special attack, you see how much HP both of Nick's Pokemon have there. He could have been threatening a double knockout with a Dazzling Gleam there. And it would have, you know, been dependent upon. It looks like maybe it was a roll onto, I don't know, it would have been clean onto Xerneas. I'm sorry, my math is hard.
Math is hard when you're like watching Pokemon
really
like this.
Hard. And of course, it would have come down to potentially Aaron winning a speed tie to get both of those knockouts, but now the threat of that is completely gone, that he's only at +1 stage of special attack, and he does have to go back to the drawing board a little bit here because he kind of had himself set up at least for a turn, and now he's got to kind of reevaluate his options.
Yeah, and it's just rough because, you know, Nails had that option to be able to go for the Moonblast as opposed to that. Ooh, we've got the speed in favor of now. Nails managed to pick up that double knockout now on both of Aaron's Pokemon here. But if we do get that Lunala in, and if we also have that Incineroar, the Power Up's not going to hit anything. But if we have that Lunala in back, you had mentioned that second before, the Geomancy here on Nick, like the Geomancy being active still on Nick Xerneas could have the potential for that psych up there as well. But I think it's still kind of a tough thing now because, you know, you've got that Venusaur in the back still, and if you have that Groudon, you can bring it in for that Chlorophyll boost as well. Right,
and one thing I'm just now thinking of is that the Serena Bring is actually, particularly on this turn, going to be very effective for him because otherwise Aaron would have had a nice play where he could have faked out that Xerneas and psyched it up without having to fear too much of what Serena has to do. You know, you can high jump kick into Incineroar, but I think if you're trading, you know, all those boosts onto Lunala for chip damage onto Incineroar, then you definitely take that. And a helping hand, this is going to be a +3 Moonblast here with those boosts presumably into Lunala, and I really don't know how much damage this is going to do.
It's going to go into that Incineroar instead, so you just want to make sure that it is not going to be able to do anything. Picks up that that knockout very cleanly. This Lunala is going to be able to get for the Psych Up, though, at least. The only problem is if you don't have a spread move, then like you can still take that damage on there, right? And so Lunala is now going to have that +2 to its speed, its special attack, and its special defense. Still has that Shadow Shield up, but Nails has all 4 of his Pokemon still. Yeah, that Venusaur is taking damage, but he's got a full health Pokemon in the back still.
Yeah, he does, and you know, really not the worst possible option for Aaron here, but he's going to have to take a lot of attacks over the course of the rest of the game here in order to kind of weather the storm, and presumably Nick does have that Groudon in back, and while special defense is all well and good against certain Pokemon, there's not a whole lot you can do to try and weather a Precipice Blades with the boost that he's been given.
So the Moonblast is finally going to break the shield here. It gets another special attack drop on that one. The Psyshock from that Lunala is going to go into that Xerneas. That special attack drop is going to be so rough for later. Does pick up the knockout now on Xerneas, though, but, you know, that shield has been broken. Power Whip is going to connect here on that Serena. Its high attack is going to do a little bit of damage there, and this Lunala at half health, we do know it has a Z move, so there's no chance ever for it to recover that HP back.
Right, no, it's definitely stuck at the amount of HP that it's at here, and it looks like Aaron is, I think, you know, as far as what his best options are, for which slot to choose his attacks into, it looks like what he's going to do is just kind of leave Serena there for a moment and play towards potential Power Whip misses, and I think that's probably his best option to try and mitigate damage. But seeing this Incineroar, especially after that special attack drop, is definitely not something that he wants. I think the potential at +2 for it to pick up a knockout might have been there, but instead at +1, Incineroar definitely going to be able to take that. And it looks like Aaron was kind of baiting, Nick was trying to bait that Z move into that slot, but instead Aaron's one step ahead of him for now.
Yeah, and he gets that Power Whip into a protected Lunala, but I still think it's a really tough uphill battle for Aaron. You know, he might not be out. He's still got that Z move left there.
He definitely needs at least one Power Whip miss to have a chance here.
Yeah, and he's also got that +2 to his speed still. So I think if you can take out this, Venusaur, you still are pretty much okay because you know that you can't get faked out by that Incineroar. But if this Moongeist can pick up that knockout onto that Venusaur, you should be, you know, in a good spot. But it still manages to pick up that knockout even with that -1 to its special attack from earlier.
And he is going to need, it has U-turn. Okay, so that might, it doesn't do enough. I was wondering how much damage that was going to do, and if it was
basically nothing.
If it was going to be enough to be a higher damage option to remove the threat of a Power Whip miss, but I'm not sure that's quite enough. And it still is probably, Aaron's probably still going to need to crit this Z move into Incineroar to have a shot to win this game.
Well, yeah, and the problem is too, like, it depends on if Incineroar has Snarl or that knockoff, because the Snarl is going to make sure that you know, more damage, like less damage output from that Lunala. It'll be like just a neutral special attack, or if it's got knockoff, that'll be 4 times super effective, and the shield's already been broken. I mean, it's. If, like you said, if he can get that crit Z move on here, he has a chance, and if that Power Whip misses, then he's still in it. So this is where it's going to come down to, and like we have 45 seconds to wait to see what happens.
And you know what, Regina, I think if he did critical hit this Incineroar here and was able to pick up the knockout, it would be more than fitting, given the way that both of these players' tournaments have run, especially in Top Cut, as they've both been trading. You know, Nails was crushing those sleep powders at a certain point. He was dodging.
Gets the critical hit for that Precipice Blades in game one.
all his Moody boost, right? The Precipice Blades miss. So I think it would really only be fitting. It would be very, appropriate based on how the rest of both of their tournaments and top cut matches have gone. But here we go. Is it going to be enough? And
that's definitely not close at all. I mean, that's really so. I mean, you go for the power whip, no miss here, so it is going to connect there. It's going to do some more damage to that Lunala, and is enough to pick up the knockout.
Win for Nick
so it's a that was an interesting match. There was a lot that could have happened there.
A lot that could have gone on, and I think in the end, obviously that Precipice Blades really hurts in game one, but it felt really like Nick was in the driver's seat in game one, and then in game two it was just those speed ties. Yeah, it kind of could have flipped either way with that Xerneas Dazzling Gleam, and I think the way some of those rolls went, you give the slight edge to Nick with the Moonblast drops in particular, which definitely could have impacted the outcome. But yeah, that's the way that this format goes sometimes, especially when everybody's running those timid Xerneas, where you kind of have to just.
The speed ties are like that's the part that hurts. I think is knowing that you're speed tying and that you lost it both like 2 times where it really mattered. Yeah. And it's hard to kind of look at that and be like, okay, that's fine, because you having that speed tie be part of the reason you lost is always I think a tough pill to swallow. I mean, but I think Aaron should be so proud of how he played, because he gave us some really fun, exciting matches on stream, and it's been really fun.
He did. Yep. And again, big congratulations to Nick, who will be moving on to finals against Brandon, which I think should be a really exciting matchup. We've got a combination of 4 different restricted Pokemon, which is always, a big exciting thing. And the 2 teams kind of match up in a very interesting way. So this should be a really exciting finals. We've had a really exciting slate of top cut matches so far, so I think it's only fitting that we really jump into a really exciting final, and I see no reason that it shouldn't be, as we do take a peek back at the bracket here and look at both players on their way to a finals berth here in Dallas, Texas. Yeah,
and so, I mean, like you guys can see on your screen, Brandon versus Nick for your top cut. I think we are taking a quick break after this just to give them, a little bit of a breather. Yeah. So, we're after we close out the stream for a little bit, we will be taking a 15-minute break, because I kind of need a breather after watching and stressing out for that 45 seconds. Is it good, a critical hit? So, and I can only imagine what they're feeling up there too as well. So, I'm actually really excited, because I love the idea of the Curse Body Gengar. I love the idea of seeing a ghost move from it, and because either a ghost move or a focus sash to see if it supports or not, and then the Terrakion from Brandon, which I think is the first time he's ever brought it to a game.
That's interesting. Because we almost definitely won't see it in finals, but I think we will get to see Gengar for you, Regina. I think that'll be one that'll come.
That'll be fun. I really enjoy the Z move that it does. Yeah. I just watching Z moves as much as I might not like sitting through the 45 seconds of those Z moves, I do love the dances. I think the dances are the best.
Are a fun part of Z moves. So this should be a really exciting finals. It's been a pleasure to bring you guys both of these 2 really good players. Bring to you on stream both of their runs through Top Cut, and we even got to feature both of them in Swiss yesterday, which is really exciting. So stay tuned. Do not go anywhere. We've got a really exciting finals match between Brandon Huang and Nick Navarre on tap. We are going to take a short break, about 15 minutes, I believe is what we were told. So do not go anywhere. The finals of Critical Hits coverage of the Dallas Regional Championships will be back very soon.